Chapter 686. Happy while suffering. Huang Xiaoshan said he doesn't want to say anything. The reporters were excited. What a powerful way to express his emotions. If it had been someone else, he or she would have to use an immeasurable amount of words, expression, and even tears to express how sad and disappointed they were at this result. Huang Xiaoshan just needed one sentence: I don't want to say anything. This was a true instance of silence speaks for itself. Many reporters had already decided that tomorrow's reports were going to mostly revolve around this single sentence of Huang Xiaoshan's. Indeed, when even Huang Xiaoshan had no words to say towards this defeat, was there a need to even describe how angry and disappointed Team Blue Rain felt towards this match? On the other hand, the intensity of Team Blue Rain's emotions only illustrated the brilliance of Team Samsara's victory. This was the first final match in 8 seasons to end early. Yes, this result may disappoint many, but to the reporters, who were writing the reports afterward, this made a very good topic. Although the topic was good, because the match ended early, they didn't have much material to work with. Therefore, they had to dig deeper into the inner emotional world of the players. No matter what, the focus would still be on the champions, Team Samsara. In that moment, any reaction from Team Blue Rain would only be used to emphasize the strength of Team Samsara's performance. Of course, some of Team Blue Rain fans among the reporters might draft up reports that favored Team Blue Rain and point out their merits. Even if these kind of drafts were accepted, they would only appear in some unnoticeable corner. This was how the competitive scene worked. The halos of glory would only be bestowed upon the victor. Second place? Silver medal. They sounded like good results, and they did acknowledge these teams' strength. However, they would never be seen in a glorious light. In fact, because of the glory showered upon the victors, the mark of the losers only seemed much more noticeable for the losing teams. Team 100 Blossom was a good example of this. They had lost 3 finals. Did anyone mention that Team 100 Blossom was the second best team that managed to beat many top teams? No. Their 3 second places were often mentioned as a joke. They were the pitiful sacrifices towards the glory of the victors. They looked even worse than the no-good teams that became cheerleaders after finishing the regular season without getting relegated or getting into the playoffs. The competitive scene was cruel in this way. No wonder the media was so easily swayed. No wonder they approached Team Blue Rain with wicked intentions during the press conference. Nonetheless, Yu Wenzhou took over the responsibility of talking. After Huang Xiaoshan's "I don't want to say anything," the reporters threw out even more questions. Facing the media's attempt to dig deeper, Yu Wenzhou smiled. Even Xiaoshan doesn't want to say anything, what more is there for us to say? This. While the reporters were still spacing out, the Team Blue Rain team members had gotten up and quietly left under the lead of their team captain. After their thoughts ran off wildly in every directions, the reporters quickly pulled their thoughts back and surged forward with their equipment like cheetahs towards the main characters of today, the champions, Team Samsara. The final was an away match for Team Samsara. After they attended to all of the necessary events, Team Samsara only celebrated a little bit. The next day, when they returned to City S, their home base, their club already had a huge celebration taking place. Thousands of fans crowded the club's stadium to welcome their hero's return. Champagne, flowers. To Team Samsara and its fans, this day was indeed a very happy day. Their team captain and ace player, Zhou Zikai, finally welcomed his personal final coronation after winning the championship. All throughout the regular season, the playoffs, and even the finals, his performance was unquestionably worthy of all the glory he received. In the eyes of the fans, he could do everything besides heal. In the eyes of his teammates, he was undoubtedly reliable and victorious. In the eyes of the league and the sponsors, he was the grandest source of money. He had unmatched popularity and handsome looks. The only problem he had was his shy personality and the fact that he didn't speak very much. However, that was no big matter. Even if he didn't say much, there were more than enough ways to package a star. With his looks alone, it was easy enough to make fangirls scream at posters for a while. His value as a player and in the advertising field had both reached its peak. This was an achievement that no one had done before. Yichu's competitive success was still an unreachable summit, but his commercial value had always been non-existent. Although the other god-level players did not reject commercial activities as much as Yichu did, none of them had reached the height that Zhou Zikai had reached. The title of number 1 in the alliance became his from that day forward. During the entire summer, Team Samsara and Joe Sakai would be sought after by many. On the night when the champions were decided, war erupted out in the game. At least this time, it was no longer a world war. It was just between Blue Brook Guild and Samsara. The fans and guilds of the other teams took to the sidelines the moment that the war started. Although there were a few fans that ended up on one side or the other, the guilds would never let themselves be involved in such meaningless fights. After the champions were announced, no one bothered to argue over the events that took place during the knockout stage before the playoffs. All the fights and arguments were coming from the two teams that made it to the finals. Therefore, the other clubs enjoyed the show quite happily. As for the start of this war, the reason behind it was no longer findable. No one knew if it was the continuation of the previous wars, or if there had been something new, but everyone knew that it had to do with Team Samsara's strong performance and the fact that they had stomped Team Blue Rain during the individual matches. On the battlefield, Team Samsara was indeed very strong. However, Team Samsara's style was just like their ace Joe Sakai. Although they were rather forceful on stage, down in front of the press, they still used words like, "The opponents performed well. We just did a little better," just like most professional teams would do. As the old saying goes, no arrogance in victory, no despair in defeat. As for Team Blue Rain, no matter what Team Samsara's reaction was about the victory, they would still respond respectfully and not belittle Team Samsara in the slightest. This was also Team Blue Rain's manner. Unfortunately, teams were teams, fans were fans. A team would act as a whole. The members would help each other out, move together, and take the same stances that their teammates took. The fans wouldn't. Their numbers were way too numerous. Despite bonding together due to their shared love for the same team, to say that they would all coexist peacefully was still ridiculous. After the results were finalized, many people jumped out. On Team Samsara's side, most of the troublemakers surfaced to show off. On Team Blue Rain's side, there were quite a number of people who shouted out for no reason. It was simply because they could not stand the crushing defeat. The finals had ended, but the battles in the game had just beginning. With the help of certain individuals, the flames of war easily ravaged the whole server. Although there were many logical people like the team members among the fans, who would listen to reason amid such chaos? On top of that, facing those who had trashed Team Blue Rain to the ground and praised Team Samsara into the sky just because the match ended early, even logical people would feel rage roaring within themselves. Despite the efforts of the two club guilds, the fans of those two teams still waged war of their own. After all, fans were fans. The words of the guilds, teams, and even players only held so much weight. There was no way for the fans to carry out the will of the club perfectly. All that the clubs could do was suggest, advise, and hope. If others wouldn't listen, what could you possibly do? Hurry up and grab as much toilet paper as you can hold to wipe the asses of your own fans. When the war erupted, the guilds of the two clubs got involved forcibly. If they just let their fans do whatever they liked and ended up causing their fans to blame themselves, that would truly be a headache to deal with. There was no time for the two clubs to take a breather. As loving as they were for their fans, they kept on emphasizing that they needed to stay logical, needed to face the results maturely, and that was just how competitions were like. However, all their efforts were ignored. Even the clubs could not trash-talk themselves while praising others. There was simply no way for Team Samsara to say, "Exactly. Team Blue Rain is garbage. We should not be wasting our time on such trash." Following the same logic, Team Blue Rain could not possibly say that, "Screw it. Team Samsara is just a group of bastards who stole our victory." However, as civilized people, we should not be arguing with those bastards. As a result, both ended up saying that there is always a victor and a loser in any match and we should always respect our opponents. Unfortunately, such words were uttered by every team after every match regardless. Everyone got tired of hearing the same thing a long time ago. Such pleading had no effect to speak of. Even those really moving speeches might stop some players, but it would not stop all of them. The flames of conflict would not be put out so easily. These kinds of wars were waged after every year's finals. This year's was just more intense because Team Samsara had ended the match early. The excitement was expectedly high for the first-time championship victory. On top of it, Team Samsara had won by a landslide. No matter who it was, the fans all wanted to show off somewhat. Overall, it was still because Glory was different than any other sports. Because it was based on a game, it gave its fans the room to vent. If it had been any other sport, after the results were out, all the fans could do was just have some verbal arguments. Even if actual conflicts were to take place, it would still be relatively small scale, since even if they wanted to make things bigger, they would have to organize everything. In addition, there was public security to prevent such occurrences. Glory was another thing altogether. The heavenly domain gathered all the fans in the same place and allowed them carry out their conflicts in the most direct ways possible. Without any rules to abide by, the battle escalated without limits. Even if you lost all your equipment, you couldn't take revenge by calling the police. This kind of war obviously harmed the guilds. Samsara was slightly better since their team had won the finals. They saw the losses as sacrifices for the championship victory. In a way, they were happy as they suffered. Blue Brook Guild had gotten themselves into a total tragedy. They didn't win the finals and still had to pay for the satisfaction of their own fans. As of now, tears were streaming down the cheeks of Blue Brook Guild's guild master Changing Spring. Just who did I offend? Chapter 687. Scrap Pick Transporter. Samsara celebrated without restraint. In the early days of Glory, champions like Team Samsara could log into the game and interact personally with their fans. However, in more recent years, the competition had become fiercer, and this type of activity had already died. The game was equal to everyone. If pro characters like Cloud Piercer or Empty Waves appeared, would they be able to parade around on the streets? The fans of the other teams would help them celebrate by gifting them with flashy attacks. There was only killing in the game anyways. Even celebrating looked the same. It was currently the weekend right now, so there were even more players online in general. Even though only 2 guilds were fighting, it seemed even more intense than it had been in the past. The fans might be fighting fiercely, but the guilds exercised restraint. They knew that this time, the other guilds would definitely be watching the battle from the sidelines. They had to preserve as much of their strength as they could because this battle would only result in losses. There would be no winner or loser in this battle. Blue Brook Guild was stronger than Samsara, but it wasn't by so much that Blue Brook Guild would be able to wipe Samsara out. In particular, for club guilds, the word wipe couldn't really be used. As long as the team still existed in the pro scene, the guild would survive. If the team left the pro scene, you wouldn't need to actively try and wipe out that guild, it would quickly fade out of existence on its own. These kinds of occurrences had happened before in the past. The 2 guilds carefully moved about. They had a tacit agreement not to let their elite forces collide. Thus, the war this time appeared less real. Yishu's group was originally going to run around scrap picking, but when Yishu heard Wei Chen describe the situation, he immediately lost interest. If the elite forces avoided direct conflict with each other, wouldn't they just be going around bullying normal players and showing off their might? Both guilds were very well aware that they needed to participate in this war. The 2 guilds wouldn't be provoked by their surroundings. The core of each guild were a group of professionals. They would calmly survey the situation to see how they could win, just like the pro players. Of course, this was only limited to the core circle. Whether it was the main guild or one of the branch guilds, the vast majority of players were purely fans who could be rational or impulsive. Some would listen to the guild's advice, while some thought right now was the time to stand up. The guild couldn't care about everyone. In any case, the elite members strictly followed orders. In addition, they tried to avoid funneling in as much resources as possible. As a result, they did a good job preserving their strength. In reality, even the non-elite players still had fairly good equipment. After all, they were all members of club guilds. Even if they weren't able to buy or obtain the items that they wanted from dungeons or marketplaces, they still managed to obtain them by contributing to the guild and trading contribution points for items in the guild storage. Club guilds were able to keep so many players together by relying on this method. However, Yishu's group was only focused on picking up items dropped by the elite teams. The equipment dropped by these elite members were all top equipment in the game. Picking up second-rate or third-rate equipment felt meaningless to them now. But then again, wasn't getting equipment this way faster than running dungeons? Wasn't the equipment for the guild storage? In the end, Yishu's group still went scrap picking. It wasn't like they had anything else to do. Normal players would try to get their equipment properly by running dungeons, but like Wei Chen said, think of your status. You're going to stoop down to their level and do the same? Why not just buy it or steal? In the past, running dungeons could be considered as practice for Tangru and Steamed Bun to get used to their characters. However, half a year had passed since then. The two of them had grasped the basics a long time ago. Running dungeons wasn't very meaningful to them anymore. Even though they could still do some types of training through the dungeons, these past few years, the pro scene had already developed more efficient and specialized training methods. They had their own programs that allowed them to create all sorts of simulations to practice and train different techniques. The technology department of the various clubs weren't just for creating equipment. They were involved in a lot of projects. Many of these training methods were secrets belonging to each of the clubs. Those that could be downloaded publicly certainly wouldn't be these. Even though Yi Shu was very familiar with the training methods that Team Excellent Era had, the problem was getting his hand on or creating the programs used for these training methods. How could he know any of that? Team Excellent Era wasn't going to provide those programs for him, so he didn't have any. Team Happy didn't only lack talented players. Compared to the clubs, they were still at a very crude level. If all a team needed was a practice room, it would be the same as it had been 8 years ago, when a few players could just register and join the pro scene. If even the club guilds needed to be personally managed by pro players, how could the Glory Alliance have grown this big? Any established team nowadays had strong funding backing them. How could they resort to scrap picking for equipment? Just look at how Lulan Slash did things. He just needed to throw his money and sweep the market. Thinking about this made Chen Guo feel a little sad. Did Yi Shu like to go scrap picking? No, of course not. He just didn't have any other choice. Chen Guo didn't like this method either, but it's not like she had a ton of money to throw at the game either. If she didn't let him go scrap picking, how would they get a huge amount of equipment? How would they establish their guild storage? Sayings like "there's always another way" or "as long you try hard" were all nonsense. Chen Guo wasn't a naive little kid. She wasn't so innocent. There were many things in this world that couldn't be accomplished through hard work alone. There were 20 teams in the alliance. Which team wasn't trying hard? There was only one champion every season though. Chen Guo had enough money to buy some equipment, and the money Wei Chen earned from the skill points guide could be used to develop the team too. Their current capital would have been considered exceptional 8 years ago, but this wasn't 8 years ago. The scene had developed rapidly over these 8 years. Their capital wasn't considered much in the Pro Alliance nowadays. They were still at the level where they needed to split a bill in half before using it. As a result, even if she looked down on scrap picking, she didn't raise any objections against it. She even went along with them to pick scraps. If a god like Yi Shu was going to stoop so low, she didn't have any excuse not to. However, Yi Shu refused because her skill level was too low. Are you planning on picking up their equipment or having them pick up your equipment? His straightforwardness made her furious. Without any other choice, Chen Guo could only be a transporter. Yi Shu's group was too efficient. The war this time was even more intense. There was equipment everywhere. The three went back and forth. Their storehouses were about to be full. Chen Guo immediately grabbed their alternate accounts and began using those as storages. After thinking about things from a long-term perspective, she ordered another set of heavenly domain accounts. She listened to Yi Shu's advice and got one of each class. Today, their work didn't seem like scrap pickers, but transporters. They had to save some energy to defend themselves when scrap picking in the elite battles, but now that they were scrap picking with normal players, so they didn't need to use as much effort. They went about round after round. Even Lulan Slash's eyes were red when he heard of it, but no matter how red his eyes were, he wouldn't go and scrap pick. Around 3 months later, he would be standing on the pro stages. Lulan Slash was looking forward to this very much. He clearly looked down on taking advantage of this situation to scrap pick. But seeing how God Yi Chu was scrap picking so calmly, Lulan Slash could only feel inferior. A god really is a god. He's so high profile in anything that he does. This scrap picking, F***CK, he's going back to the city. Is his inventory full already? Because it was the weekend, the wild bosses this week had all spawned. The 4 guilds in the alliance had benefited greatly. As a whole, it was the biggest harvest they had in history. The big guilds usually competed for these wild bosses and exchanged wins. No single guild had ever monopolized so many bosses in a single week. After killing all of these wild bosses this week, each party in the alliance looked at their accounts. They discovered that, even though they split, each boss drops 5 ways every time, because they had killed so many bosses, their profits surpassed the amount that Big Guild would usually get in a week. This alliance was too amazing. Each party in the alliance praised. Although the big guilds hadn't participated in the competition for most of the wild bosses this week, their future looked sound. Even if their harvest decreased in the future, they definitely hadn't lost out this week. Just think, if they didn't have such an alliance and only took advantage while the big guilds were fighting to get a few wild bosses, it would just be the small club guilds competing with one another instead of the big guilds. No one would have a monopoly. In the end, the drops would be split between numerous guilds. Their harvest then certainly wouldn't be as good as their current harvest. This satisfying result made these guilds hopeful for the future. They wanted Monday to hurry up and come, so they could begin hunting next week's wild bosses. They understood the importance of God Yi Chu in this alliance and placed great importance on what God Yi Chu asked them to do. Lulan Slash was currently watching the two big guilds fight it out. He noticed Lord Grimm's group nimbly entering the battle, run around, and run out slowly. The weight in their inventory must definitely be slowing down their feet. Soon afterwards, he received a message from his guild. Deception had been cited. Yes, this was what Lulan Slash and the others were helping God Yi Chu do. When Lulan Slash received this news, the other 3 guild leaders, Yu Zikan, Whitestream, and Martial Awareness also received such message. Just like Lulan Slash, they cared very much about this task. As a result, Yi Shu quickly received the news from all 4 guild leaders. Deception is online. Yi Shu hastily called out to Chen Guo, "Hurry up and take this load off of me." Take this load off of me. Was he really regarding scrap picking as transporting? Chen Guo silently cursed as her character ran over. She also asked, "Is there something that came up?" "That guy's finally online again," Yi Shu said. Chapter 688. Coming and Going. Chen Guo knew who they were talking about. She had interacted with and learned from Deception, so she knew he was very skilled. Of course, Chen Guo welcomed skilled players, so when she heard that he was online, she quickly logged onto her account to take the load off Yi Shu. "Where are you all?" Chen Guo asked as she hastily turned on 2 more computers. She was planning to log on and unload the goods of the 3 characters at once. She knew that the movement speed was crucial when dealing with Deception. Every time these 3 went out for scrap picking, their movement speed would always be hugely affected by their heavy inventories, which wouldn't be enough to deal with Deception. "Unload mine first, then unload those 2. Opening 3 computers at once, it's not like you can use Shadow Dance," Yi Shu said. Chen Guo ignored him as she quickly logged onto Chasing Haze and rushed to Lord Grimm's position and traded away everything on Lord Grimm. "Alright, I'll leave first," Yi Shu said before running off. Lord Grimm's features were no longer unbalanced. After these past several days of fruitful labor, he naturally had high-end equipments he could use instead, even if Yi Shu didn't change his principle of prioritizing the equipment stats over the physical appearance. However, his random matching of clothing was more civilized this time and it didn't look as absurd and ridiculous as before. After asking Lulan Slash about Deception's current whereabouts, Yi Shu was a little gloomy. Judging from the information he received from the allied guilds, the direction Deception was sprinting towards might be the teleport formation. Once he teleported, who would know which city he would head towards? Furthermore, there was still a distance between Lord Grimm's current position and the teleport formation. It would be impossible to rush there and kill Deception before he teleported, no matter what method he used. "Can you send someone to stall him?" Yi Shu asked the 4 guild leaders. About this, "I'm afraid we won't make it in time." The 4 guild leaders had also determined Deception's direction judging from the reports they were given. They wouldn't be able to arrange enough people to stop him before he reached the portal. Sigh, Yi Shu felt regretful. Just when an opportunity came, that guy still managed to escape. Yi Shu only focused on the places good for scrap picking and neglected the matter that Deception might try and teleport the moment he logged on. "I won't make it in time, too." Sigh. "Don't worry, God. Once my message is out, no matter where that guy teleports to, as long as he's seen by our people, we'll know at once," all 4 guild leaders replied. That would be great, Yi Shu was relieved. There was strength in having a number of people. As he was thinking, Yi Shu had Lord Grimm run towards the teleportation portal. He prepared to immediately pursue Deception the next time Deception was discovered. At least this guy was online. Based on the foundation of the 4 guild's players, it might be possible to run into him. Lord Grimm only traveled for a short distance before all information on Deception was lost. Deception's movement speed was too quick. Normal players weren't able to keep track of him for a long time. While he was still on his way, he soon received another message. It came from Yu Zikan of Conquering Clouds. Someone in their guild had noticed Deception. Where? Yi Shu hastily asked. Oak City, Yu Zikan replied. Oak City. Yi Shu was startled. What a coincidence. Oak City was currently the closest city to Lord Grimm. In this way, he didn't even have to go to the teleport formation. Why did Deception coincidentally choose to go there out of all places? After a brief moment of thinking, Yi Shu immediately understood. Deception targeted here because this place was the main battlefield of Blue Brook Guild's first and second elite groups. It didn't matter whether you were in a group. It was hard to be in their league. Even fans of Blue Brook Guild would consciously avoid going here. After all, the maximum limit of a group was 100 players. Players that went over the limit wouldn't receive damage exemption. Fans of Blue Brook Guild were worried that they would be killed under the valiant bombarding of their own guild's elite group, instead of their opponent's attacks. Such a place was undoubtedly an excellent place for scrap picking. Yi Shu's group came here to scrap pick, so it was natural that a scrap picking veteran like Deception would also make such a judgment. However, the way Deception rushed there the moment he logged on made Yi Shu remember Deception's situation during his first encounter with him. Yi Shu was now even more certain that this guy had alternate accounts. Even though Deception wasn't on these past few days, that didn't mean his alternate accounts were idle. However, Deception finally appeared again, so it was a given to keep an eye on him and give him a lesson. After knowing where Deception was headed, Yi Shu immediately made a rough prediction of his route. Yu Zikan also continued to update Yi Shu with more information. Yi Shu saw the direction Deception was advancing towards and confirmed his prediction. Deception was definitely headed his way. He's saved us a lot of trouble, Yi Shu was excited. Lord Grimm ran back and waited. Why would he be in a hurry to run into him? It'd be better to give Tang Ru and Steamed Bun a chance to unpack and guard the revival point. Because Lord Grimm had emptied his inventory, Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion couldn't keep up with his pace. They were currently struggling to transport their items. Chen Guo had just switched accounts to trade with the two, but before she could meet with them, Deception actually arrived first. Deception's movement speed was too quick. The players of Conquering Clouds soon lost track of him. However, Yi Shu was confident. He was certain Deception would pass by here. I need to find a place to hide, Yi Shu checked his surroundings. He wasn't planning to mount a sneak attack. He was just afraid that Deception might see him from the distance and take another path. Wouldn't it be troublesome if he had to pursue him all over again? After looking around, Yi Shu had Lord Grimm hide behind a tree. He would reveal his head to peek out from time to time. Oh, Lulan, you're also here. Yi Shu didn't see Deception, but he caught a glimpse of Lulan Slash. Ah, yeah, Lulan Slash originally came here to watch the scrap picking. After the three finished scrap picking and ran off, he also left. Then, he received the new information partway through, so he wanted to follow Yi Shu's Lord Grimm to watch the fun. In the end, he just saw Lord Grimm hiding on the side of the road, preparing to mount a sneak attack. If it were someone else, a sneak attack would be normal. However, Yi Shu was a god. Lulan couldn't bear the fact that even he needed to ambush a player. He sympathized with Deception. He wouldn't think that he would have been caught by God. Oh, I was just passing by, Lulan Slash said. Oh, are you here to scrap pick as well? Yi Shu asked. Ah, no, I'm just walking around, Lulan Slash said. He wouldn't stoop so low as to scrap pick, but since God was scrap picking, he obviously couldn't reveal his disdain towards scrap picking, so he explained his actions in this way. Oh, if you have nothing to do, then why don't you help us? Steamed Bun and Soft Mist are in the back. They're really slow because of their heavy inventories. Since we have business to do, why don't you help us carry these items back? Help share some of the burden, Yi Shu said. This was an effortless favor. How could Lulan Slash say no? But the problem was, he was a great guild leader. He would soon be the captain of a pro team and the team's boss. Now he had to do this? What was this? This was lower than scrap picking. He needed to help a scrap picker transport goods. Lulan / felt that he should have said he was scrap picking and was going back from a successful run. Even though Lulan / thought of this in his mind, he still did the favor. He just felt regretful because he wouldn't be able to witness the scene of a god ambushing someone. Even though Deception's movement speed was quick, he was quite far away, so Tang Ru and Steamed Bun arrived first. "Hey, boss," Steamed Bun greeted warmly. Lulan / help you transport the goods, right?" Yi Shu asked. "Yeah, that guy could carry a lot," Steamed Bun sighed. "Of course, he's a berserker, so his strength growth is very high. His equipment also has a lot of strength increases too," Yi Shu said. "I don't think my strength is inferior to anyone's," Steamed Bun spoke. "I was referring to the strength stat in the game," Yi Shu said. "What a pity. If I had strength that high, I could move a lot of things," Steamed Bun said. "When our equipment improves in the future, you'll have lots of it," Yi Shu said. Even though brawlers mainly dealt physical damage, very few emphasized strength. Brawlers' skills had a lot of additional effects. In order to strengthen these effects, spirit was essential. As for the specifics, that depended on the person. It was like how a battle mage chose between strength and intelligence. Most players emphasized strength and put spirit as their secondary stat. However, high-end players usually found their own specific stat allocations to match their styles. As for Steamed Bun, for such a crazy guy like him, could he care about these details? Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion didn't go anywhere after that. Deception dashed this way the moment he logged on and didn't switch accounts either. After reviving, he would return to the main city. It was too far to have the two go and guard the revival part. Besides, Yi Shu reckoned that Deception was smart. He would probably log off as soon as he died and wouldn't revive again. The three hid and waited. Soon, Deception could be seen. He was moving very fast towards them. "Let me jump out and scare him." Steamed Bun was eager to give it a try. "Don't kill him too fast, I need to ask him some questions," Yi Shu said. "Oh," Tang Ru answered. The three waited. They originally thought that Deception would appear now. All three were straining their ears to hear his footsteps, but none of them could hear anything. Yi Shu felt that this wasn't normal. He poked his head out to look, but Deception had disappeared. "Huh? Where'd he go?" Yi Shu said. "Did he see your head sticking out?" Chen Guo was very concerned about this matter. "Impossible," Yi Shu overruled the idea firmly. He knew how the game worked very well. Judging from the distance between them, it was impossible for Deception to see half of his head from behind the tree. Yi Shu turned around to look at Steamed Bun Invasion and wondered if Steamed Bun had left any traces behind. But when he turned around to have a look, Steamed Bun was well behaved as he hid there. "That's strange. I'll go out and have a look." Yi Shu had no other choices. Had Deception logged off again? Chapter 689. Here to ambush. The three came out from their hiding place. They looked around, but didn't see any signs of Deception. "Let's go over and take a look," Yi Shu said. Lord Grim walked forward. Soft Mist and Steamed Bun Invasion followed, covering his left and right. Maybe he went to use the restroom, Steamed Bun guessed. Even though it would be another escape, it really was a possibility. In any case, he logged off here. "No? Should we stay here and camp this place then?" Tang Ru asked. Steamed Bun had experience in other games. Tang Ru couldn't really be considered a noob anymore. She began playing Glory in December of last year. It was now June, so half a year had passed. Games were usually pretty easy to get into, but difficult to master. Glory was the same. Otherwise, there would be no difference in skill levels between pro players and normal players. Tang Ru had played for 6 months already. She spent most of her time in the game too. If she were still a noob after all that time, she'd be laughed at to death. It just took a long time to level up in Glory. In half a year, most players wouldn't be able to enter the Heavenly Domain. From this perspective, the Heavenly Domain players might think people, who had only played for a half a year, were still beginners, but Tang Ru clearly didn't belong in this category. Her skill level had already been enough to crush most normal players before she had even started playing the game. It was mainly her lack of knowledge and game sense that made her a noob. Now that half a year had passed, how could she not have more knowledge and game sense compared to before? Waiting won't do, Yi Shu said. They were just 3 people. If they were going to wait, they couldn't be the ones doing it. Should he allow the big guilds to continue helping him? Just when Yi Shu was thinking about this, he saw something flash. He immediately turned his camera and saw Deception jump out from who knows where. Deception quickly formed a seal, which Yi Shu recognized as Shadow Dance, but he was a bit at a loss. Why did this guy suddenly take the initiative to attack them? Was his brain broken? Around 10 shadow clones pounced towards them. Yi Shu could tell that this was an attack. What trump card had Deception grasped? He clearly saw all 3 of them, yet he actually dared to attack. Yi Shu didn't understand, but Deception had already arrived. How could he be polite? He swiped his mouse and his cursor hovered accurately on a shadow clone. With a beautiful swing, Lord Grimm switched his myriad manifestations umbrella into its spear form, which pierced through a clone. Then, he switched forms again, changing it into its gun form. He leapt backwards, while firing. The same time that the shadow clone was hit, Lord Grimm quickly aerial fired backwards and escaped from the encirclement of shadow clones. Retreat first, Yi Shu said to Tang Ru and Steamed Bun. Deception's unusual boldness puzzled Yi Shu. Unable to predict what strange method Deception had in store, it was best to be on the cautious side. Tang Ru and Steamed Bun wanted to retreat, but they weren't able to do so as easily as Yi Shu could. Yi Shu just looked like he had killed the nearest shadow clones and then leapt back with an aerial fire. But in reality, he had looked around to clearly see where every shadow clone was arranged to see the focal point of Deception's attack and to figure out the most optimal direction to break out of the encirclement. Most normal players wouldn't have the awareness to do all of that. When Tang Ru and Steamed Bun tried to retreat, they did it in a more forceful manner. They weren't being completely brainless though. They each took off in opposite directions. This way, unless Deception could push both of them back to their original spots, if the 2 rushed forward, he wouldn't be able to deal with both sides. Shadow Dance had a limited range. When Yi Shu looked at the situation, he knew that if Deception wanted to have both of them stay within Shadow Dance's range, it wasn't going to be a possibility. Tang Ru was so fierce. Her spear danced about with light, dark, fire, ice, and neutral chasers circling behind her. Deception threw all of his shadow clones at her to keep her, but this only gave her more opportunities to create chasers. Chasers were a huge feature of battle mages. Even though they mainly dealt magic damage, because of the buffs given by the chasers, even a strength-oriented battle mage like Tang Ru couldn't ignore their importance. Tang Ru had played Glory for so long already. She was extremely familiar with chasers at this point. Right now, she was using all sorts of methods to create chasers in order to break out of this encirclement. Every time she hit a target, a chaser would also hit the target. At the same time, another chaser would be created. This loop continued. For battle mages, this was called chaser flow. There were players who specifically geared their skill levels towards this playstyle. They would give up on using a spear and battle staff. Instead, they chose to use magic wands. Magic wands had high attack speed, high magic damage, and gave intelligence bonuses. Battle mages, who specialized in chaser flow, stacked intelligence to increase the damage of their chasers. This sort of extremely specific playstyle didn't exist in the pro scene because there were quite a lot of restrictions to chasers. For one, chasers could only be produced by hitting the target with a certain skill. The chaser also had to hit the target. The amount of damage that a chaser could do, even when stacking intelligence, couldn't compare to a powerful high-level skill, so the burst it did wasn't enough. As a result, in the pro scene, chaser flow was just a technique. It was rarely used as a main playstyle. Yi Shu had obviously told Tang Ru about this before. However, using chaser flow to break out of the shadow dance encirclement was a very good choice. Chasers continuously flew out. The colors of the 5 different types of chasers were all different. Their explosions made a colorful mess out of Deception's shadow clones. The most terrifying part was that chaser damage was added in the combo count. And combos activated the Battle Mage Awakening skill, Battle Spirit. A faint golden glow soon emerged around Soft Mist. As her combo count increased, the golden color grew more and more prominent. The shadow clones from Shadow Dance actually became helpers for Soft Mist to accumulate combos. What is he doing? Yi Shu was puzzled. He was waiting for Deception to come out with some sort of big move, but all he did was use Shadow Dance, giving Soft Mist the opportunity to build up battle spirit. If this continued, how was he going to run? His Shadow Dance was being ripped apart by Tang Ru. No, ripped apart was being too polite. He was practically assisting Soft Mist. Tang Ru clearly understood this point. She felt like there was no need to run from this Shadow Dance. In the end, she was just pretending to break out of the encirclement. She stood there, killing the shadow clones coming at her. Finally, the shadow clones all disappeared. They hadn't been killed, nor had the skill duration passed. Deception cancelled the skill himself. He was clearly aware that his shadow dance was a mistake. How did things turn out like this? Yi Shu really wanted to interview that guy. When Steamed Bun saw the annoying clones disappear, he was even more brave than Tang Ru and threw a brick at him. How could Deception be hit by such a simple and crude move? He stepped to the side and used a shadow clone technique. His character instantly moved a distance away. It seemed like he wanted to run now? What was this guy doing? Yi Shu chased after him with Lord Grimm, while wondering. Steamed Bun chased after him enthusiastically, while shouting, "Punk, don't run. To think you'd actually hide and ambush us." Hide and ambush us? Yi Shu suddenly came to a realization after hearing Steamed Bun's shout. Lord Grimm chased after him. Tang Ru and Steamed Bun also followed along. Their equipment had gone up a tier again. Deception's movement speed was no longer anything amazing to them. Lord Grimm kept on pestering him with long-ranged attacks. Steamed Bun Invasion threw a brick at him from time to time too. Deception was greatly impacted by their combined efforts. He couldn't run straight and had to zigzag around. In the end, the three caught up. Lord Grimm stabbed forth with a circle swing, when, his myriad manifestations umbrella didn't even hit yet and Deception was launched into the air. Soft Mist had used a circle swing first. No need to fight over him, Yi Shu urged. He didn't want to kill Deception. He was afraid Tang Ru would instantly kill him again. Circle swing was completed and Deception crashed into the ground. Soft Mist spear pulled away. Deception immediately tried to get up, when Steamed Bun Invasion grabbed a brick and slammed it into his character's head. To think you'd be so fierce and actually attack us, Yi Shu said and had Lord Grimm shoot at Deception twice. Yi Shu had figured out Deception's intentions. That guy had actually tried to ambush them. These past few days, Deception hadn't been online, but how could a scrap picker like him not be busy during this opportune period of time? He clearly had more than one account. He had used those alternate accounts to scrap pick. They were all scrap picking experts and picked areas good for scrap picking. Today, Deception had seen Yi Shu and the others in this Blue Brook Guild battlefield on his alternate account. Every time the three of them scrap picked, they would come out with their inventories full. With such heavy weight, their characters' movement speed, attack speed, and jump stat would be heavily impacted. Deception was aware of this point, so he switched accounts to try and ambush them. He had run over, not to scrap pick. He had the same idea as Yi Shu. He wanted to ambush them. Hadn't he been hiding there, waiting for Yi Shu's group to come, so he could attack? It was just that after a while, Deception quickly realized that something wasn't right. How could these guys be so nimble, if they had such full inventories? When Deception realized his mistake, how could he not try and run? Yi Shu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had been planning on letting that guy know their might. Who would have thought that he would be so brave? As soon as he saw that there was an opportunity, he ran over alone to mount a sneak attack. Unfortunately, if he wasn't alone and had friends that could give him updates, he might have known that Yi Shu's group had quickly unloaded their inventories shortly after he had logged on. Chapter 690. Do you have any willpower? How bold, Yi Shu praised. The three arranged themselves into a triangular formation with Deception in the center. Yeah, extremely daring. Steamed Bun Invasion threw a handful of sand at him. Confident too. Did you actually think that you could beat all three of us, even if we were weighed down by all the stuff in our inventories? Yi Shu said. You made a mistake. A very big mistake, Steamed Bun remarked. That's why I say that playing an MMO on your own is very difficult, Yi Shu said. That's common sense. Don't you even know that? Steamed Bun said. The two chattered and chattered, but Deception wasn't listening. He turned his viewpoint slightly, examining their positions. With the two talking so much, it felt like there was an opportunity that he would be able to exploit. It was hard to avoid losing focus when talking. Charge. Deception formed the hand seals for the underground tunneling technique to hide underground. However, Lord Grim and Soft Mist reacted quickly using their spears. Practically the moment he dug into the ground, their spears stabbed him, fishing Deception out and throwing him back above ground. You still dare to run? Steamed Bun was furious as he threw a brick at him. While Deception was in a dizzy state. Have you been busy scrap picking recently? Yi Shu asked. Deception didn't say anything. How is your harvest? Yi Shu asked. Still no answer. Last time, I wasn't able to finish talking by the time you died. Have you given any thought to what I said over the past few days? What do you think about joining our team? Yi Shu asked. Deception still didn't reply. He's asking you a question. Steamed Bun Invasion's brick was off cooldown, so he threw another one. Is he even there anymore? Yi Shu mumbled. Lord Grim smacked him with his umbrella. Deception fell to the ground. Sigh, Yi Shu sighed. He's not a coward. Why does he have so little willpower though? He gives up so easily. Lord Grim began attacking Deception. Deception simply didn't make any movement. He hadn't actually left his computer this time. He really felt quite depressed at Yi Shu's comment. He had no way of beating them. What was he supposed to do? To say he had no willpower. He frequently had to lay low in hiding places, waiting until an opportunity presented itself, restraining himself from making any impulsive moves. How could that be called having no willpower? Deception, who had given up resisting, was quickly killed. From start to finish, he hadn't said a single word. After reviving, he decided to log off and switch accounts. He took up his cover and began to scrap picking again, but that disappointment in his heart, he thought he would have been able to take revenge with that ambush. Instead, he was surrounded and killed. Apart from disappointment, what else did he be feeling? This guy, Yi Shu, was a bit helpless. It was hard to communicate with Deception. Talk nicely. Every time you see him, you kill him, Chen Guo said. I don't even know if he's still logged in or not. If he logged off, if I don't kill him, he'll disappear after a while. If he realized that had happened, wouldn't he laugh at us and call us idiots? I can't allow him to be so happy, Yi Shu said. Then how are we going to do this? Chen Guo asked. We'll just have to slowly wear him out, Yi Shu said. He was clearly prepared for a long drawn-out battle. Deception was too different from normal players. He wasn't interested at all in the professional scene. He wasn't different in a simple sense like Steamed Bun was either. Pulling him into the team was very difficult. Why else had so many guilds given up? Deception was an incredibly skilled player. He wasn't like Little Cold Hands who needed someone like Yi Shu to dig out his hidden potential. A talent like Deception was someone the big guilds certainly wanted to recruit. He wasn't just someone useful to the guild, but a potential recruit for a pro team. Even so, he still wandered around alone. It could be seen that whatever recruiting methods the guilds attempted towards him didn't work. Deception was truly a difficult person to deal with. The three players continued their scrap picking. With Blue Brook Guild's elite group sweeping the field, the equipment piled up like a mountain. More and more scrap pickers gathered. Beggars can't be choosers, but Yi Shu's group was more picky. They wouldn't even look at normal equipment and only picked up the best equipment they could find. After scrap picking for a while, Lord Grim suddenly stopped. Yi Shu adjusted his viewpoint and looked ahead. Amidst the fierce battlefield, a lone assassin was nimbly moving about, dodging all sorts of attacks, while choosing which equipment to pick up. Yes, choosing. This person was actually the same as Yi Shu's group. He only picked the most outstanding equipment. Common equipment wouldn't enter his eyes. And the way he picked up equipment was very bold. In a fierce battlefield, very few players dared to charge through the field. There was a limit to not being afraid of death. Rushing into the battlefield like that was practically the same as rushing to your death. That assassin ran around and quickly traveled through the field. From the number of times he crouched down to pick up an item, it seemed like his harvest was quite good. Is it that guy? Yi Shu thought to himself. Deception's alternate account must be scrap picking in this area. If not, he wouldn't have known their whereabouts. Bumping into him here was a possibility. And his scrap picking skills were very outstanding. Even if this person wasn't Deception, he was still quite an expert. Yi Shu thought about it and had Lord Grimm head over. After that assassin ran out of the battlefield, he suddenly saw Lord Grimm running towards him. His footsteps suddenly halted. This small detail didn't escape Yi Shu's eyes. He was now certain that this person was Deception's alternate. After failing his ambush, he decided to switch to his alternate account and keep scrap picking. Steamed bun, little Tang, Yi Shu shouted as Lord Grimm began sprinting. Those two were having a very fun time, picking up items, when they heard Yi Shu call out to them. They turned to look and saw Lord Grimm rushing towards an assassin called Not White. Tang Ru immediately understood the situation. It was hard to know if Steamed Bun did or not. In any case, he followed Soft Mist and ran over. Chasing after someone in a chaotic battle was much harder. Yi Shu didn't hurry and act. He just made sure to keep the assassin within his field of view. Deception's assassin had much worse equipment compared to his ninja. His movement speed wasn't as fast. He was only able to not get caught by relying on his surroundings. Deception clearly understood this, so he didn't run outside of the battlefield and stayed inside. Yi Shu said he had no willpower. Now this guy seemed to be refuting, saying that he would persevere. It would be hard to shrug his pursuers off by running around like this, so it would be a test to see who would lose their patience first. Let's see who can persevere longer. Deception thought, when a sword light suddenly flashed towards him. A random attack coming at him wasn't anything strange amidst this type of battlefield. Deception played his assassin quite well and immediately jumped up. He jumped again in midair, using an assassin's unique air jump to dodge the sword light. Scrap pickers like him had no relation with the battle. Even though they were annoying, the battle was so fierce that no one paid attention to them. Usually, if someone noticed a scrap picker, he would attack, but if he didn't hit the scrap picker, then he wouldn't bother trying again. Very few people would continue chasing after one. As a result, Deception didn't pay too much attention to this attack. After dodging it, he continued to run. Who would have thought that as soon as he landed, another sword light would fly towards him? The other side actually attacked him after missing the first time. Usually, Deception wouldn't be afraid, but there were 3 scary people chasing after him from behind. A second of hesitation could carve his death in stone. Thus, Deception didn't dodge it. He took the attack and attacked to try force the opponent backwards in an attempt to create a gap for himself to escape. Who would have thought that the opponent would have the same thoughts as him? The opponent didn't block his double stab and ate the attack. This guy was planning on sticking to him, whether he died or not. Deception panicked. He didn't have the time to fight with this guy. This opponent was quite skilled too. His opponent wasn't someone who could be shrugged off that easily, especially since he was being so shameless and running at him without regard for his life. This brief delay was enough for Lord Grimm to catch up. Deception still hadn't been able to escape from his current entanglement yet. Thanks. Go on with your work. Yi Shu thanked the Blade Master for helping him as he closed in on Deception's assassin. What did this guy do to offend you? Blue River asked. Ha ha, he caught my attention, Yi Shu laughed, as he entangled Deception. Yi Shu's Lord Grimm had the equipment advantage over Deception's assassin. How could he not win this fight? Without Tang Ru and Steamed Bun needing to help, Deception was beaten up. By the time the two arrived, the fight was already about to end. This was under the situation, where attacks would occasionally fly towards them too. Did you think that switching to an alternate account would make a difference? Yi Shu grinned. He was certain that his person was Deception. Why else would he run? Even if they were foes as people of the same trade, scrap pickers wouldn't go so far as to run as soon as they saw each other. Don't scrap pick. Come with me and play in the professional alliance, Yi Shu smiled. Shut up, Deception didn't log off this time. He clenched his teeth and struggled. He even activated life-risking strike. But the attack didn't hit. The fight ended without any suspense. Lord Grimm easily killed him. With a crash, a bunch of items dropped as if a boss had died. You got quite a lot of stuff, Yi Shu was moved. It was as if he had killed a boss as he picked up all the equipment on the ground. The equipment on Deception himself wasn't anything noteworthy. He had come to scrap pick, so he had a lot of stuff in his inventory. This time, he dropped a lot of equipment. They were all high-quality equipment that Deception had specifically chosen. Now, Yi Shu took it all. Amidst the fierce battlefield, Blue River wasn't able to clearly hear what the two were talking about. All he saw was Lord Grimm kill him off and pick up all of the equipment that dropped. F***CK, he's stealing from people of the same trade? The scrap-picking business is really cruel.